Like, it seems like West Coast could be headed towards a lengthy period of transition. Are you the right man to lead this group out of this predicament?
Well, that's not for me to decide. I think the people who get voted into positions, captain, coach, CEO, all those sorts of things, all they can do is worry about what they're doing. And for me, that's about trying to play well, lead well off field, and if that's what the footy club wants, then so be it. But not occupying my mind that thought at the moment.
Is it a challenge you'd be up for?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm all in to try and turn our form around and get us back up the other end of the ladder for sure. Yeah. And if I wasn't, then that'd be a fair indication that I'm not the man for the job.
A lot of speculation about what this situation sort of would mean for Simo going forward as well. You back him to lead the club forward? 100%,
yeah. I've seen him get us out of a few ruts over the years. He's been a pretty successful coach, and he's, what's it been, eight years here so far, 9 years. So this is probably the toughest period of his coaching career, and it's probably the toughest period of a lot of our playing careers. But I don't think that means you have to reinvent the wheel. We've got to find new ways of doing things, but I don't think that always means new personnel. So, everyone we've got on board at the club at the moment, we're fully confident in.
The club was hesitant in the first few rounds to kind of talk about rebuilding or transitioning. Is it now that point where you're accepting the fact that you are going to have to transition the team in the list and maybe go through a bit of pain before you get back to the top?
Yeah, well, you can call it what you want. Everyone's got a different name for it. But obviously we need to get some consistency in the players we've got at the moment, first and foremost. Get our guys on the park to play consistently together. Figure out what our best 22 look like week to week. But I think any team, you've always got to be trying to worry about the young kids you're bringing in and your next generation. So obviously our situation, that gets magnified at the moment, but I think every team behind closed doors is always thinking about that sort of thing.
Behind closed doors, what's the mood like? I mean, 109-point loss, it's second biggest loss ever at home for the club. It's pretty dark times at the moment. What's the mood like walking in on a Monday? Yeah,
there's a bit of reality about the way we're performing, so guys aren't happy with what's happening on field, but the mood's fine. The mood, it's different to last year, which is a positive thing, I think. Last year we were probably a little bit lost with what we were doing, and we needed to change a few things, which we did. Obviously they're not working yet, but no, the mood's good. It's where it needs to be. We've got to keep fronting up and finding ways to get better. There's no use licking our wounds and feeling sorry for ourselves 7 rounds in. So it's a long year ahead still, which is great for us. It gives us time to turn things around and get on the right path forward.
Luke, you were a young man the last time the club was in this sort of position 12 years ago. Do you remember much of what that period was like and what sort of lessons were learnt at the time?
I remember thinking if I was to read into what others were saying about us, we wouldn't have turned it around as quick as what we did. We made a prelim 12 months after winning the Wooden Spoon. So people can talk about rebuilds and getting new players in as much as they want. Even with Melbourne 2 years ago, they didn't make finals. They'd had a couple of reasonable years leading up to that, but they don't make finals and win a premiership a year later, quite convincingly. So things can turn quick, which we're aware of, and that's what we're hoping will happen.
Lions coming up, they had a pretty significant win over Sydney, and Sydney had a pretty significant win over you guys. How are you feeling going into that?
It's a huge challenge for any team going up Gabba against Brisbane. Even looking at some of the detail, the way they're playing is really admirable what they're doing. They're playing a really good system. They're not looking to do it the easy way. They're happy to do it the hard way, and good challenge for us. You sort of want these games after what we've dished up the last few weeks. You don't want to roll out and try and find an easy win, because it doesn't solve anything. You want to find out what you can do and what you're capable of against the best teams. And Melbourne, Brisbane, we've got Melbourne next week as well. So good audit for us. But yeah, you want to dig your way out of situations like ours the hard way. You don't want the easy way out. So it's exciting. Yeah.
You said you're making some changes that aren't working yet. Is that the plan, to continue with what's going on, or is it changing week to week?
Well, you don't want to abandon the pillars of your game if they are what you really believe in, and what you really believe can take you to a successful era as a footy club. Then you stick with them. As Richmond did, I think 2016 to 2017. Melbourne did it 2 years ago. So we're not going to abandon everything, but we can't keep rolling out and losing by 10 plus goals every week. So we'll flick a few things around, I'm sure. We tried a few things on the weekend, but it's about finding the balance between not giving up on where you want to end up as a side, but also probably not rolling out the same things that aren't working week to week. As
a side, you seem to be struggling a little bit on the fitness front, not just with injuries, but maybe covering the ground on game day as a whole. I don't use an excuse. Is the COVID still a factor, like that lingering effect for players that may have had it in the past few weeks? Is that something that's a real thing for players?
Yeah, I think so, but we haven't talked about that. It's not an out for us. It's certainly not the reason you lose by 100 points. So we've, even going back to 2018, 2019, we had numerous changes at times, and we still found ways to win even when we were underdone. So it's no excuse for us.
And you've got to make some changes this week with some COVID cases popping up. Can you give us a bit of an update with that?
I can't. I don't have the facts. Obviously, Jacko and Witho won't be playing, but I can't tell you who's in and if anyone else has gone down yet.
Looking at the Brisbane game, a bit 8-day break for the club. Does that help in any way? With some of the injured players, I know Willie might be suffering a bit of an injury, Tom Barras as well. Does that 8-day break help?
Probably in terms of trying to get a few blokes back or up for a game, yeah. We've had an 8-day and a 5 or 6 day in the last few weeks and hasn't helped our scoreline. So probably not on that front, but yeah, it'd be nice to give some of our better players every chance to play.
And is this a game that we could potentially see one of the older players like Josh Kennedy maybe being a rest, or can he make the flight over to Brisbane?
Potentially. I mean, at Josh's age, every week's potentially the week he misses out, or not misses out, but has a rest. He's been battered for probably 7 or 8 years now, and he just keeps finding a way to front up. But he's a proud man. He's been a leader of our club for a long time. I can't imagine he's going to want to sit out at the moment while our backs are against the wall.
On a positive note, Greg Clark made his debut on Friday and had a pretty good impact first up. How have you seen kind of Greg's journey and kind of his entering into the side?
Yeah, he's a ripper, Clarkie. He went into a bit of detail to us last week about his story and his journey, and it was interesting hearing him open up, talking about his under 18 years and not getting drafted and his mindset. And he's so determined to forge a career for himself, and we saw that Friday night. We've seen that probably the last 2 years at Waffle as well. So, it's baffling that a lot of guys like Clarkie around the country don't get as much opportunities thrown their way as what 18-year-olds do, because obviously, as we saw Friday night, he comes in and he certainly doesn't look out of place, and he's only going to get better. So hopefully, for our point of view, as a footy club, he's got 8 or 9 years, 10 years left ahead of him to keep building and improving. And he showed he can lead the way at Subi as a player and on and off field, and I'm sure he's going to be able to do that with us. It's a great story.
Are you finding that some of the fresher players to the club are coming to you during this time for advice on how to get their head up every week and keep going?
We're sort of all bouncing off each other at the moment. No one really has a clear way forward and out of this, otherwise it'd be an easy fix. So we're sticking together. That's been one thing I've been really proud of as a playing group. There's been no finger pointing. Guys are holding each other accountable to certain things, but there's no blame going anyone's way. So we're relying on each other, and I can learn as much off Campbell Chester, and Shannon Hearn can learn as much off Brady Hoff as they can us. So that's exciting.
Just on the past 3 weeks specifically, given you had such a gallant start to the season with all the disruptions you had, can you pinpoint why it's gone so south so quickly?
Not pinpoint, no, but we've played some pretty good sides. I think Port's 0-4 record, whatever it was going into our game, didn't reflect probably how good they were, and Richmond as well. I think their best is still in the top 3 or 4, and they were good for most of the night the other night. Sydney. So we've come up against really good sides, and we're certainly not anywhere near our best. Perfect storm for 12-goal losses. So it's been disappointing. That, you know, they're the benchmarks of where we need to strive to get to. But as I said before, we're confident we can get there sooner rather than later and quicker than what a lot of people think we can.
And on Friday night, I think it was 20 goals from turnover against. So how do you? There's no quick fix to that, but how do you improve that?
No, there's not. I suppose it's funny when you lose by that much, you try and find any positive, and the positive is that you know, maybe we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit. You know, the turnovers, you don't turn them over. Maybe they're not kicking that bigger score, but I don't think our issues stop just with our turnovers. So there's a few other things we need to fix as well. But yeah, against a good side like Richmond, who have festered on that stuff for 4 or 5 years, showed that they can still compete with the best teams.
And the midfield group had a long discussion yesterday at training with Matthew Knights. What was some of the focuses that you were looking at yesterday?
Yeah, that was nothing. That was no rocket science. We were talking about some of our. That was part of our review. So instead of doing it in a lecture theatre like we do most weeks, Knight decided we'll get out in the sunshine, and a few of us boys need to work on our tan. Middle of winter coming up, so spent a few more minutes out there and just went through a few more things in. But you can go into a bit more detail, being out in the grass and visualising a few more things and just sitting in a lecture theatre. So that's all that was.
And just your own form, Luke, Friday night, 28 touches, looks like you're starting to get back to closer to your best after a pretty interrupted start to the year. How are you feeling in your body, and you think you can do that consistently now?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay, yeah. Obviously none of us are anywhere near the level we need to be, so still plenty of room for improvement. I was Richmond's best player there in the second quarter at one stage, I think. No, we've all got some work to do, so keep plugging away, and hopefully we're not too far off hitting our straps.
What's your message to supporters who might be writing this season off for you guys?
Oh well, I don't think I need to give our fans a message. They're wonderful for us. Obviously, we're going through a tough time, but like us, I'm sure they're sticking fat and ready to ride it out with us. And yeah, hopefully for their sake as much of it as ours, we can turn it around quicker than what a lot of people are saying we can, because yeah, it probably hasn't been enjoyable for them turning up to Optus Stadium the last 2 Friday nights. Yeah, they deserve to see better, so but we'll get there, so hang in there with us.
There's been some more discussion the past couple of days about the prospects of a mid-season trade period where clubs like in this position could offload some senior players to get some draft picks to help them rebuild faster. Do you think, not Eagles players necessarily, but AFL players in general are ready for that sort of model, or would it be not quite what you would like?
Look, a drastic change like that, I don't think you can ever be fully ready for it. Sometimes you've got to bite the bullet on those things and just introduce them and see how they go. But I think we'd need to look at more than just 1 or 2 sides. We probably need to look competition-wide and figure out whether it's going to help the game more so than just, probably the bottom 2 teams at any one stage. So, yeah, it might be something that the league look at over the next. I haven't seen any of the talk about it over the last week, but obviously it's getting thrown up somewhere. But obviously the game's always evolving. New things are being brought in every couple of years, so who knows where we're going to be in 5 years' time.
Just Tom Barrass and Willie Rioli, how are they looking on the track? Are they going to be available, in your opinion?
Yeah, Willie got a good corky second quarter, I think. So he's taking it easy on that. And TB, yeah, I think TB will be fine. He, I think even though he had the sore hammy, he was still close to actually playing. But given our injury record this year, there was no point in taking the risk. Putting another bloke in a rehab stint with a hammy probably wouldn't have been a great result for us. So gave him the week off, and I think he's ready to go.
And Bailey Williams, is he in it?
Look, he was probably the same as Tommy, to be honest. Yeah, at that age, a small hammy like that, sometimes you can get away with it. So I'd imagine he'll be touch and go as well.
If he doesn't get up, someone like Harry Edwards may come into the ruck setup. Have you worked with him at all with rucking at all?
Not a whole lot, nah. But if he gets the tap on the shoulder, he's a competitive, real competitive bloke. So I think you could put Harry anywhere on the field, and obviously he's still learning the game and learning how to be his best version, but he'll always have a crack for you, so be quite happy to roll out next to Big H.
And more full players might be required, as Emil mentioned yesterday. Is that something you're looking forward to then? Because they played great against North Melbourne.
Yeah, they were rippers. We were lucky to have the quality of those blokes come in and do what they needed to do. Look, given the current climate with everything that's going on, probably wouldn't feel that out of the ordinary to have some waffle guys come in and play. So we'll just see what happens.